It states Kevin Stefanski earned NFL worst coach grade on NFLPA report cards. Now, from my understanding, these report cards are no longer being made to the public, but an NFL reporter leaked this year's grade, and they don't look good for Atlanta Falcons head coach Kevin Stefanski. According to NFL insider Diana Rosen, stated Kevin Stefanski earned a C- grade in his final year coaching the Cleveland Browns.
So here's what just went down in the NFL world this week. Some absolutely explosive information just dropped, and it all revolves around Kevin Stefanski, who just got picked up as the new head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. The NFLPA scorecard just leaked, and man, it's creating instant buyer's remorse for Falcons ownership, especially Arthur Blank, who's the guy that pulled the trigger on bringing Stefanski in. The report just named Stefanski as the absolute worst coach heading into the 2025 season, and now the Falcons' future is looking pretty shaky. Take a moment to process that. You cut loose a coach who was actually producing results. You recruit this new guy with all this supposed credibility, and then he immediately gets slapped with a C- rating from the NFLPA scorecard, a C- grade. This isn't about some minor performance dip. This isn't about growing pains or needing time to adjust. This is an official, verified, comprehensive league assessment that puts Kevin Stefanski dead last among every single head coach in the NFL. Arthur Blank didn't just make a questionable call here. He just made what might be the most expensive mistake in recent Falcons franchise history, and now the evidence keeps piling up against him.
The thing about Kevin Stefanski is this.
Yeah.
Who has gotten better from the player's perspective that you can hang your hat?
What makes this whole mess even more painful for Falcons ownership is that it's not just about Stefanski's terrible rating. It's about what his replacement got rated at the exact same time. Raheem Morris, the coach Arthur Blank decided to dump, the guy who was running the Falcons before Stefanski stepped into the picture, just got handed a B+ from these same reporters and analysts who gave Stefanski that C-, a B+ rating. You realize what this actually means, right? The coach Arthur Blank kicked out of his organization was operating at a legitimately strong level. The guy he pushed out the door was respected, valued, and scored highly by the exact same people who evaluate NFL coaching talent league-wide. And his replacement is now ranked at the absolute bottom of every coach in the league.
It ain't no blacker division than the NFC South. I'm telling you, you got Atlanta, Carolina, and New Orleans.
The on-field statistics paint the exact same picture when you break down what actually happened. Kevin Stefanski coached 34 games during his Cleveland stint last season. His final tally was 8 victories and 26 defeats. Let's break down those numbers real quick. That comes out to a win percentage of exactly 23.5%. Not even 1 in 4 games resulted in a win. We're looking at a coach who dropped more than 3 out of every 4 contests he managed. This isn't about a rough stretch or bad luck. This points to serious issues with leadership, game planning, team culture, and performance across every aspect of coaching. Now switch gears and check out what Raheem Morris delivered. During his 34 games leading the Falcons, Morris secured 16 victories. That translates to a 47% success rate, almost exactly twice what Stefanski achieved with identical sample sizes. These numbers aren't even close to comparable. They're operating in completely different leagues. But somehow Arthur Blank examined both trajectories and concluded that Stefanski represented an improvement. That choice is coming back to bite him every single day now.
Players, from what we've seen,
Yeah.
don't get better with Kevin Stefanski. And I'm looking at the personnel of the Atlanta Falcons. They're a young team. You got Michael Penix as your quarterback.
This story gets even more complex and controversial, though, because it wasn't just analysts and rating systems warning people about Stefanski. Someone else saw this disaster coming from way out. Someone who grabbed the microphone the second this hiring got announced and broke down exactly why this was heading for failure. That someone was Cam Newton. When Cam Newton talks about football culture and what goes on inside NFL front offices, everyone better listen up. He's drawing from real experience competing at the absolute peak of professional football. Cam didn't hold back when the Falcons revealed Stefanski as their new head coach. He wasn't trying to be polite or politically correct about it. He went directly after the core problem and spelled it out for everyone ready to hear the truth. His main concern centered on Stefanski's Cleveland record, particularly how he dealt with Shedeur Sanders. Cam Newton stated clearly that what went down with Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland wasn't some accident or string of bad breaks or because Shedeur wasn't ready for primetime. What happened according to Cam was intentional and systematic blocking of opportunities based on exactly who Shedeur Sanders is, his background, and everything he stands for. Shedeur Sanders embodies real black culture. He represents hood culture in its most genuine and unapologetic form. According to Cam Newton, coaches like Stefanski just can't handle that, can't relate to it, can't work alongside it, can't develop players who embrace that identity without compromise. Looking at what actually unfolded in Cleveland, it's really hard to disagree with that analysis because this wasn't one isolated incident. This wasn't one questionable roster move happening in isolation. This was consistent behavior that stretched over months, impacting a young quarterback who deserved proper development, real support, and a fair chance to demonstrate his abilities at the professional level.
Kyle Pitts.
Bijan.
Like, that's a very young team. Like, your team is young. It's like you're inheriting something that's already great and ready to rock and roll.
So here's the question Cam Newton asked that's been blowing up across every social platform since this hiring happened. If Stefanski handled Shedeur Sanders like that in Cleveland, why would anyone expect him to act differently in Atlanta? Consider what Atlanta actually represents here. We're not talking about just any random city. This is Atlanta, Georgia, where the fan base is overwhelmingly black, where the culture runs incredibly deep and defines the entire franchise identity. This is a city where the community doesn't just cheer for this team, they are this team. The bond between Atlanta and its football culture is something you won't find replicated in most other NFL cities. And you just hired a head coach who, based on all available information, doesn't get that culture, can't connect with it, and has already proven he's willing to hold back players who represent it authentically. That's the most culturally black division in the entire league. The disconnect Cam Newton called out couldn't be more obvious when you frame it that way. You're pulling a coach out of Cleveland, which has a totally different cultural environment, and dropping him right into the center of one of the most culturally vibrant and predominantly black sports communities in the country. And you're expecting him to lead a roster packed with young black athletes, young guys with incredible upside, young players who need a coach who trusts them and creates opportunities for them to thrive. The Falcons have plenty of young talent on that roster. They've got players throughout their lineup who could define this franchise's future. But what happens to that future when the guy calling the shots has already demonstrated to the entire league how he approaches young black players? Michael Penix Jr. is watching this whole situation develop. Every young player in that locker room is watching this whole situation develop, and Arthur Blank is sitting there carrying the burden of a decision that looks more problematic every single day. The NFLPA scorecard is now public record. That worst coach ranking is officially documented. The win percentage comparison with Raheem Morris is absolutely devastating. The cultural issues Cam Newton pointed out are getting more obvious with each week that passes. And Arthur Blank is reportedly beyond angry about all this, not just annoyed or concerned, but absolutely livid, because now you can see the complete picture. You can connect every single piece from when this hiring got announced to exactly where the Falcons are sitting today. Arthur Blank took a major risk. He bet everything on Kevin Stefanski, when he already had a completely competent, well-regarded, successful coach right there in his organization. And at this moment, every indicator is pointing toward the same conclusion. Stefanski isn't the right fit for this roster, for this community, or for this critical moment in franchise history. The question everyone's asking now, the question that every single Falcons fan wants answered immediately, is pretty straightforward. What's Arthur Blank's next move? Because time is running out, the heat is intensifying, and Atlanta deserves so much better than what they're getting right now. Keep watching, because this drama is nowhere near finished.